Okay, welcome to class. Let's talk about the B.rad Nutrition Guide. This handy guide is downloadable for free at bradkearns.com. You can print it out, the beautiful colors, put it on your refrigerator, and help you navigate through a tiered ranking system of the world's most nutritious foods. Is it really this simple? Yes, we want to get rid of that processed junk as step number one, and then strive for maximum dietary nutrient density. Your food choices are informed by what kind of nutrition it offers, and right there, the global all-stars at the top of the category, meat and fruit. That is the next dietary trend. You heard it here first. It's pretty simple, and that is the essence of my diet, which has been streamlined and simplified with preferences on the top of the list, the stuff I like to eat the most, and also dietary nutrient density. So we have animal protein right there with the emphasis on red meat, the highest ranked type of meat in terms of sustainability as well as nutritional value. And we have fresh fruit. Obviously, the best is locally grown in season, but now we can have great access to fruit. You have tremendous micronutrient and nutritional overall value. They taste great. They're delicious, and a great centerpiece to help you get the healthy dietary carbohydrate you need as well as the fiber. That's why meat and fruit are on top. And then as we go down the tiered ranking system, we have the plant foods talked about at the bottom, but right below the global all-stars, we have eggs, especially locally grown pasture-raised eggs, and other eggs if you can find them. I find duck eggs sometimes at the farmer's market or in great stores. They're a nice, larger, richer tasting egg, and some of the best eggs I've ever had, pasture-raised from the farmer's market best, and you can find other pasture-raised options in good grocery stores. Then we go down to wild-caught, oily, cold water fish, and in the seafood category, the smash family are rated at the top. And guess what's cool about that? They're also the most accessible and the most affordable. So the smash family stands for sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon, and herring. And of course, you want to get the wild-caught salmon. Even canned wild-caught salmon has a lot of nutritional value, not those objections that we get from the over-farmed salmon that's typically the Atlantic salmon variety that you find in restaurants. So finding that oily cold water fish, making that a centerpiece, not a huge budget impact. Same with the animal organs, which are the most nutrient dense of any food on the planet, and they're also very affordable. So try to get some liver, heart, kidney into your dietary game. What I do is I puree the organs with the ground beef, and then I'll cook that up so it's not as unpleasant of a taste if you're not used to that stronger taste of the organs meat. So we got the oily cold water fish, then we go down to shellfish, oysters, clams, crab, lobster, mussels, octopus, and scallops. Again, these are not in that objectionable category where we often hear about the pollution in the ocean and the objection to eating a lot of farm fish. So the shellfish have great nutritional value and sustainable, minimal objections. Then we go down to organic, high-fat dairy if you prefer and want dairy in your life. It doesn't have to be the centerpiece, but you can get some good nutritional value if you choose organic, high-fat, preferably raw dairy. So that would be things like raw cheese, kefir, and milk, cream cheese, heavy cream and sour cream, full-fat yogurt, and we definitely want to try for organic because the conventional dairy products can have those hormones, pesticides, antibiotics. Pasteurization and homogenization are safe, but they can also disturb your digestibility. So people who are lactose intolerant will have a hard time with that, where they might even be better off eating that raw high-fat dairy that doesn't have that lactose and all that processing. Then we go down to chicken, turkey, and pork. Now, the factory farming and the concentrated animal feeding operations, we have strong objections for sustainability and humane to animals when we look at the typical chicken farm or pig farm. That's why red meat is so much more appealing, better nutrient density, and the cows have a better life. 80% of all cattle live out on the open range, grass-fed, and then they come into the feedlot at the end of their life. But chicken, pigs, more filthy conditions, more objections, some cruelty, especially with the short life of the chickens that's boosted by hormones. So if you're going to eat chicken and pork, find those highest quality pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised turkey, or what's called heritage breed pork. And then you can do that. But we want to flip-flop this notion that eating chicken and fish is healthier than red meat. Red meat is at the top in every possible category when you're thinking about the best, most nutritious, most sustainable meat. Now we go into the colorful, nutritious, easy to digest plant foods category. Avocado, high in monounsaturated fats, incredible nutrient density. It's actually a fruit. Remember I said meat and fruit are the kings. So anything with a seed is actually a fruit. That includes things like cucumbers, tomatoes, and so forth, but we typically refer to these as vegetables. That's why I'm putting avocado down here. We got dark chocolate, which is a huge centerpiece in my diet. However, you really want to navigate carefully to the most sustainable chocolates where you do not have that child slave labor element that happens with mainstream commodity chocolate. If you're paying a few bucks for a chocolate bar instead of a premium chocolate bar that can be $9, $10, $11, $12, you are supporting the worst of modern economy and child slave labor. Commodity products are an unknown source, objectionable source probably, where they over roast the beans and then they throw a bunch of sugar and flavoring in it so you can't taste the rotten beans. I strive for what's called bean to bar dark chocolate. That means the maker actually knows where the bean source came from and roasted and conched and did all the finishing at their own factory, starting from the bean, ending with the finishing bar. So high quality artisan bean to bar dark chocolate. Fermented foods is a whole category of nutrition that has so many benefits for the probiotics that you've heard about. And this is things like kefir, kimchi, kombucha, miso, natto, olives and pickles are fermented foods. Sauerkraut, tempeh, probiotics nourish that healthy gut bacteria, also have great fiber and minimal objections because they're easier to digest than some of the vegetables that we consume, like the raw leafy greens that can be problematic for many people. That's why I'm talking about vegetables, making sure that you can tolerate these well, that you don't have those common side effects like gas, bloating, and digestive pain in association with eating things that we think are healthy and nutritious, like that raw kale smoothie with carrots and celery and beets thrown in there. That can be a problem for many people because vegetables have high levels of natural plant toxins. Yes, they offer health benefits, but it can also offer digestive disturbances. So navigate carefully with the vegetables and consume them in their most easy to digest manner. That would be soaked, sprouted, cooked, fermented, and so forth. Raw honey, what a fantastic dietary centerpiece. Did you know there's research with both dates and honey that they don't spike blood sugar? Maybe try it next time you're wearing a CGM. Have a nice spoonful of honey to start your day and get your energy going and moderate that stress hormone production that might happen when you're trying to fast for extended periods and also ask a lot for your body with energy and exercise. I'm a big fan of honey, especially before and after workouts. Honey Plus, here's a plug for a product, has an actual healthy energy gel made with honey and natural salt and electrolytes. Fantastic product with no objections like you might see from a processed sugar product that you're consuming for exercise. So raw honey, big dietary centerpiece, won't spike blood sugar, has a tremendous amount of micronutrient benefits with all the other stuff that's in the honey besides the calories. Same with the date. That's why it doesn't spike blood sugar. It's such a healthy item. Nuts and nut butters, if you enjoy those, appreciate those. I love macadamia nut butter, healthy quality source peanut butter, freshly ground, and that can be a nice little accoutrement or a treat, but doesn't have to be a dietary centerpiece, right? Seaweed is a great source of iodine, vitamin D, vitamin B, selenium, and omega-3. So a great entrant from the seafood family. We also have sweet potatoes and squash. So these are the best root vegetables, or they're actually category as tubers, and they have a lot of nutritional value. That colorful paste inside is your indication that you're getting better nutrition than, for example, from a white potato. And if you're going to use oils, I'm not saying that you have to dump a bunch of oil on all your foods because you're following the Mediterranean diet, but source the absolute highest quality oil, which is first cold pressed extra virgin olive oil from a domestic source. Do not confuse that term extra virgin olive oil, which has no official regulation. You can go to the big box store and pay 12 bucks for a giant plastic jug of extra virgin olive oil. This stuff has been tested by independent sources, finding that there are all kinds of other stuff in there, like vastly less pure types of oil. Same with avocado oil. The big darling of the alternative food industry got busted because they tested like 188 products and only a few of them had pure avocado oil in there. So I'm looking for an olive oil that stings when you taste a spoonful of it, that actually stings the back of your throat. That's an indication that it's fresh and it has high level of those tocopherol antioxidants that cause that sting. If you taste an olive oil that tastes bland, you are talking about an old, watered down product. It's not cool that it's imported from far away. If you think that's the olive oil capital in the Mediterranean, I'm here in California, West Coast. We have lots of choices for domestically grown, extra virgin, first cold pressed olive oil. And for cooking, you want to use these saturated fats like butter, ghee, rendered tallow, that's beef fat, things that are temperature stable. So the saturated fats are the best to cook with because they're still stable when heated up to high temperatures, unlike polyunsaturated fats, which are the worst. The worst thing that you can have in your diet are the refined industrial seed oils, those oils in the bottle that many people still use for cooking. And unfortunately, almost all restaurants, especially fast food, all the way up to premium restaurants, are still using refined industrial seed oils in their cooking. And finally, we get to supplements. I've been a big consumer of supplements for many years. I've been in the supplement industry. I sell supplements. And I got to tell you, I'm getting a little bit tired and burnt out of having to purchase all these bottles of supplements and remember to take them every day. Of course, I'm striving for peak performance and always willing to experiment and hear new information and try something new. But I'm really trying to focus and not have so many bottles that I have to pack up and travel with and so forth. So if we're looking at that tiered ranking system, I'm going to put whey protein and creatine right up there at the very top. Protein intake is the foremost dietary objective for everyone, not just young athletes and peak performers, but also the elderly who synthesize protein with less skill as they get older, so they need more dietary protein. A lot of the experts are recommending that we're getting up to a gram per pound per day, which is much more than most people get, especially if they're in that plant-based notion where they're shying away from some of the highest protein foods, like the animal protein that's at the top of the category here. So a quality whey protein supplement, that's the highest ranked protein, and grass-fed whey protein isolate is number one. Of course, that's what the B.rad products are made with. Creatine, so much great research emerging now that it's great for postmenopausal women. It's great for brain health and protection against cognitive decline. And we've known as the most studied and celebrated supplement of all time that creatine is fantastic for muscle performance, muscle strength, muscle power, muscle recovery. So if you're going to do anything, please consider supplementing with whey protein and creatine. And there might be some others on there, especially if you're deep into your health and want to experiment and explore. Magnesium is commonly recommended because it's easy to get deficient in dietary magnesium. Our soil's all depleted these days. You know where I get my minerals mostly? I drink bottled mineral water. Yes, I'm kind of sad that I have to do that much recycling and buying glass bottles from across the world, but it's one of the last bastions of great sourcing of natural minerals, right? The mineral water coming from the earth. So mineral water is a centerpiece of my diet, and I have a little thing right at the bottom talking about what beverages are approved. And this is an important category to consider often because we can get a lot of nasty stuff from beverages, right? Especially that ingestion of a lot of grams of sugar without the satiety that might be created when we sit down and eat a fresh home-baked slice of cheesecake. It feels fantastic. It's part of celebrating life, and we feel full after one slice. But if you have a 7-Eleven Slurpee a couple times a day, that's going to be a little bit of a different story. So maybe water is the drink of champions, right? We're going to have that as a centerpiece. I also love to drink kombucha. It's got the probiotic benefits that I mentioned. So what I personally do is I cut like 2/3 to 3/4 mineral water with my kombucha. So I'm getting a very minimal sugar intake from what's left a little bit in the kombucha. No concerns there. Good probiotics. A tasty, effervescent drink that feels like a soft drink. I'll squeeze fresh lemon in there, and that's one of my approved drinks. If you enjoy coffee and herbal tea, that's great too. I personally don't think that central nervous system stimulants are important in my life. I want to gain that energy naturally, and I want to feel tired when I'm tired, so I shy away from caffeine consumption, deliberate caffeine consumption, except that found in my heavy consumption of dark chocolate. So maybe I would be considered a coffee drinker in some ways if I'm getting a bar a day and how many grams of caffeine that is. So I have that on the beverages list, as well as bone broth and raw milk, like I mentioned before, and kefir. So that's the B.rad Nutrition Guide. Thanks for watching me take you through the whole thing. Print it out, put it on your fridge, and strive to stay up high. Get those pasture-raised eggs from the farmer's market. Find that grass-fed ground beef and the other exotic products like bison and venison that I'm seeing more and more availability. It's so wonderful to see that. If you have any questions, email podcast@bradventures.com. Listen to the B.rad podcast. We talk about this stuff a lot, but I'm so happy to bring it in this handy dandy nutrition guide, one pager printed out at bradkearns.com.